a peaceful village, surrounded by rolling hills and fields, there was a large, beautiful meadow. The sun always seemed to shine here, and the air was fresh, filled with the scent of flowers and grass. Birds fluttered through the sky, their sweet songs drifting on the breeze. Butterflies of all colors danced through the flowers, adding splashes of color to the green world around them. It was a place where everything seemed to be alive, buzzing with life and energy. Right in the middle of this meadow stood a tall, strong apple tree. It was the largest tree in the meadow, with thick, sturdy branches that stretched wide and high. The tree's leaves were a bright, fresh green, and they rustled in the wind like they were whispering secrets. The apples hanging from the tree were shiny and red, tempting anyone who passed by to take a bite. Despite all its beauty and strength, the apple tree felt a little lonely. It had everything. It had branches full of leaves, apples that grew every season, and shade to offer to anyone who needed rest. But it didn't have a friend. The tree longed for someone to talk to, someone to share its beauty with. One sunny afternoon, as the tree stood there, lost in its thoughts, a little boy appeared in the meadow. He had bright eyes, full of wonder, and a big, happy smile that seemed to light up his face. His clothes were simple, and his hair was messy from running and playing. As he wandered through the meadow, he spotted the apple tree standing tall in the middle of the field. "Wow!" the boy exclaimed, his eyes wide with amazement. "Look at this big, beautiful tree." He ran up to the tree, his feet soft on the grass, and reached out to touch its bark. The tree felt the boy's small, gentle touch, and a sense of happiness filled its branches. It was not alone anymore. A friend had come. "Hello, tree," the boy said, laughing with joy. His voice was full of excitement. "You're so big and strong." The apple tree couldn't speak, of course, but if it could, it would have said, "Hello, little one. Welcome to my shade." The boy smiled up at the tree, looking at the apples hanging high in the branches. He wondered if they tasted as good as they looked. Without thinking, the boy reached up and began to climb the tree, grabbing onto a low branch and pulling himself higher. The tree held him gently, feeling proud that it could support the boy as he climbed. "Look at me! I'm so high up!" the boy shouted, his face beaming with happiness. From up there, he could see the whole world spread out beneath him, fields, houses, and the village in the distance. The tree swayed its branches in the wind, as if nodding and saying, "Yes, you are, and I'm so happy you're here." After a little while, the boy climbed down from the tree, his energy buzzing from the excitement. He looked up at the apples hanging above him and decided to pick one. He stretched out his hand and grabbed a shiny red apple its skin smooth and cool in his palm. He took a big bite, and the sweet juice filled his mouth. It was everything he hoped for, fresh, sweet, and perfect. "Yum," the boy said, his face lighting up with joy. "This apple is delicious." He ate one apple, then another, his belly filling with the sweet fruit. When he had enough, he lay down on the soft grass beneath the tree, looking up at the sky as the tree's branches stretched above him, offering shade from the warm sun. The apple tree was so happy. It had a friend now, a friend who loved to climb, eat its apples, and rest under its shade. The boy came back to visit the tree every day, running through the meadow, laughing, and bringing so much joy with him. The tree's heart was full of happiness. It had everything it needed now, a friend to share its beauty with. The boy and the tree spent many happy days together. They laughed, played, and grew together, creating memories that would last forever. The tree was no longer lonely. It had found a friend, and that was all it had ever wanted. As time passed, the boy began to change. He grew taller, and his face became more serious as he learned new things and spent more time with other children in the village. He was no longer the little boy who came running to the apple tree every day. Instead, he made new friends, played games with them, and spent more of his time in the village. The apple tree noticed the change. Every morning, it waited for the boy, hoping to see his familiar face. But some days, the boy didn't come. The tree would stand quietly, looking out across the meadow, feeling a little sad and empty. The boy was growing up, and the tree couldn't help but miss him. It missed the sound of his laughter, the feeling of his small hands on its bark, and the joy he brought. One day, the boy returned to the tree, but this time, he didn't look as happy. His face was full of worry, and his steps were slower than before. He sat down under the tree's branches and stared at the ground. "Hello, tree," the boy said softly, his voice quieter than it had been in the past. The tree could tell that something was wrong. The apple tree wanted to comfort him, to ask why he looked so sad. But the tree could only wait and listen. Finally, the boy spoke, looking up at the tree with a sad expression on his face. "I need money," he said quietly. "I want to help my family, and I want to buy some new things. Can you help me?" The tree thought for a moment. It didn't have any money to give. But then it remembered its apples. Maybe the boy could sell the apples and make some money. The tree gently shook its branches, letting the apples fall to the ground. It was as if the tree were offering its gift to the boy, hoping that it would be enough. The boy's face brightened when he saw the apples. "Thank you, tree," he said with a big smile. He quickly filled his bag with apples and ran back to the village, eager to sell them and buy what he needed. The tree watched him go, feeling a sense of pride. It had helped its friend, and that made it happy. But as the boy disappeared into the village, the tree couldn't help but feel a little lonely again. It missed the days when the boy would play and laugh under its branches, and it hoped he would return soon. As the boy grew into a young man, the apple tree stood silently in the meadow, its branches heavy with memories. The young man didn't come to the tree as often anymore. His life was filled with new responsibilities, and he spent more of his time working and thinking about his future. The tree missed him, but it understood that people grow up and change. Still, it longed for the days when the boy had been small and full of joy. The tree's branches had been strong and full, its apples sweet and plentiful. But now, the tree was feeling a little empty again. One day, the young man came back to the tree, his face serious and tired. He looked different, more mature, with a thoughtful expression that made him seem much older than his years. "Hello, tree," the young man said, sitting down beneath its bare branches. The tree could tell that something was troubling him. After a long pause, the young man spoke again. "I need a house," he said. "I want a place to live with my family, but I don't have enough money to build one. Can you help me?" The tree thought carefully. It had no bricks, no wood, or anything else to build a house. But then it remembered how strong its branches had been. Maybe they could be used to help the young man. The tree slowly lowered its branches, offering them to the young man. "Take my branches, dear friend," the tree seemed to say. "Use them to build your home." The young man looked up at the branches and nodded. He thanked the tree, took an axe, and began cutting the branches. The tree felt some pain, but it didn't mind. It wanted to help its friend. When the young man had finished, he took the branches and left, walking away with a heart full of gratitude. The tree was now bare. It had given all it could to its friend, but it felt happy knowing that it had helped. It waited for the young man to return, but days and months went by, and he didn't come back. Many years passed, and the tree stood alone in the meadow, now just a tall, empty trunk. Its branches were gone, and its apples had long since disappeared. But it still had memories of the times when it had been full of life, when the boy had played beneath its shade. One day, the man, now middle-aged, returned to the tree. His face was lined with age, and he moved slowly, as if the weight of the years had made him tired. "Hello, tree," the man said softly, sitting down on the ground. The tree recognized him immediately. He was the boy who had once played and laughed under its branches. Now he was a man, but the tree still remembered. The man looked up at the tree, and the tree could see that he was troubled. "I need a boat," the man said quietly. "I want to go far away, to start a new life somewhere else. Can you help me?" The tree thought carefully. It no longer had its branches, but it still had its strong trunk. Maybe the man could use it to build a boat. "Take my trunk, dear friend," the tree seemed to say. "Use it to build your boat and go wherever you need to go." The man nodded, took his axe, and began to cut down the tree's trunk. The tree felt pain as its trunk was cut, but it didn't mind. It had given everything it had for its friend. When the man finished, he took the trunk and left, ready to begin his journey. Years passed, and the tree was now just a stump in the field. It had no branches, no apples, and no trunk. But deep in its heart, it still held love for the boy who had once been its friend. One day, an old man came walking slowly through the meadow. His face was wrinkled, and he moved slowly, leaning on a cane. When he reached the stump, he sat down and smiled, as if remembering something from long ago. "Hello, tree," the old man whispered, patting the stump gently. "I am tired." The stump felt a rush of happiness. Even though it had nothing left to give, it was glad to see its old friend again. The old man closed his eyes and rested, feeling peaceful. And the stump, too, felt at peace, knowing it had given everything it could to its friend. It had nothing left, but it had given love, and that was enough. The story of the apple tree and the boy is one of love and kindness. The tree gave everything it had, asking for nothing in return. It reminds us of the love our parents, friends, and family show us, always giving what they have to help us grow and be happy. We should cherish the people in our lives who love us, and we should always be ready to give love in return.